We use the looping or iteration structures whenever we need to repeatedly perform a task until a specific condition is met. There are three types of iteration structures. Number 1, while loop. Number 2, do.while loop. And number 3, for loop. While loop. The while loop is an entry-controlled block of statements that are repeatedly executed until the given condition is not satisfied. Syntax is while conditional expression, statements and modifiers. Here is an example. It instructs that while a is less than 3, print something. Then the value of a is incremented. The while loop repeats execution as long as a is less than 3. Program 17. Print first and natural numbers using while loop. Here is our program. I save it as 17.cpp. I declare two integer variables, I and n, where I is assigned value 1. The user is then prompted to enter a number. I enter 5. It's stored in variable n. The program then prints, first 5 natural numbers are. The program control next shifts to the while loop, on line 8. Here it's checked, if I is less than or equal to n. Since I equals 1, and n equals 5, I is less than 5. Hence the program control enters this while loop. The cout statement is to print a comma, followed by the value of I, which is 1. The I++ indicates that value of I is to be incremented by 1. So the value of memory location I increments by 1. I now becomes 2. Program control checks if any statements are there to be executed in this while loop. It then returns to check condition at top of the loop. It checks if I is less than or equal to n, I is 2, and n is 5. Hence I is less than n. So control once again enters the while loop. On output screen, it prints a comma, followed by the value of I, that is, 2. The value of I is increased by 1. I now becomes 3. Program control once again returns to check condition at top of the loop. It checks if I is less than or equal to n, I is 3, and n is 5. Hence I is less than n. So control once again enters the while loop. On output screen, it prints a comma, followed by the value of I, that is, 3. The value of I is increased by 1. It becomes 4. Program control returns to top of the loop. It checks if I is less than or equal to n, I is 4, and n is 5. Hence I is less than n. So control once again enters the while loop. On output screen, it prints a comma, followed by the value of I, that is, 4. The value of I is increased by 1. I now becomes 5. Program control returns to top of loop, checks if I is less than or equal to n, I is 5, and n is 5. It means I is equal to n. So control once again enters the while loop. On output screen, it prints a comma, followed by the value of I, that is, 5. The value of I is increased by 1. I now becomes 6. Program control returns to top of loop, checks if I is less than or equal to n, I is 6, and n is 5. Now, I is neither less than or equal to n. So the control stops from entering the while loop, and then shifts to next line after the loop. That's the end of this program execution. We now have the first 5 natural numbers printed onto the output screen. We will next move over to the do.while loop. The do.while loop is an exit-controlled block of statements that are repeatedly executed until a given condition is not satisfied. Here, the statements are executed at least once. Syntax is do, statements and modifiers, while, conditional expression. In this example, the do.while loop executes as long as a is less than 3. In program 18, we will print the first n whole numbers, using the do.while loop. This is the program code. I have saved it as 18.cpp. I declare integer variables I and n. I is assigned value 0. The user is prompted to enter a number. I enter 3. It's stored in the variable n. Line 7 prints the message, first 3 whole numbers are. Program control now enters the do.while loop. It's an exit-controlled loop. It means that nothing is checked at the start of a do-while loop. So here, the statement within this loop is executed. The system prints a comma, and value of I, or 0. I is then incremented by 1. I now becomes 1. Control shifts to the while condition at bottom of this loop. It checks if I is less than n, I is 1, and n is 3. So I is less than n, and this means the while loop will be repeated. Control shifts to top of the loop, comes to the cout statement, and prints a comma, followed by value of I, that is, 1. I is then incremented by 1. I now becomes 2. Control shifts to the while condition at bottom of this loop. It checks if I is less than n, I is 2, and n is 3. So I is less than n. The while loop is repeated. The cout statement prints a comma, followed by value of I, that is, 2. I is then incremented by 1. I now becomes 3. Control shifts to the while condition. It checks if I is less than n, I is 3, and n is 3. So I is not less than n. Program control from the while loop exits, and goes to next line, which is the end of program. On screen, we have the first 3 whole numbers printed.